Hi, I'm Neil, also known as the Hairy Man. Now, you may wonder why I am sitting here looking like a cut-price Gandalf. Well, you may ask, and I shall answer. And today, I am going to unbox some stuff. In this case, the spell effects, the Mighty Conjurations from Wizards of the Coast. Now, just to be absolutely clear here, this is something that I have purchased, and I am not endorsed by them, and nobody has provided me with anything for free. Although if people do want to provide me with anything for free, get in touch in the comments and I'm sure I can arrange something. And so, without further ado, let me move on to the review. Review-o-tastico! So, what do you get with this box? Contents of the box allow you to put representations of some D&D 5th edition spells onto the tabletop. So, namely Arcane Eye, Create Bonfire, Flaming Spear, Guardians of Faith, Rope Trick, Bones of the Earth, Healing Spirit, Dancing Lights, Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, Leomund's Tiny Hut, Leomund's Secret Chest, Mordenkainen's Sword, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, and Force Cage. So some of those spells come with multiple components or different configurations of the spell. So let's dive in and have a look at the individual effects. I'll be displaying the effects with some miniatures to give you some idea of scale, from a small up to a gargantuan miniature. And for reference, if you look at the squares as on the board that I'm displaying them on, each of those squares is at a 1 inch represents a 5 foot scale. So, starting out, looking at Force Cage in the cage mode. This is the biggest item in the set, and as you can see, compared to the gargantuan white dragon, it's pretty big. Fairly detailed with a riveted metal design in translucent plastic. It's not an accurate representation of the spell as described in D&D manuals, while it does enclose the 20 foot by 20 foot by 20 foot cube at scale. Obviously, you can't have the half-inch diameter bars half an inch apart, so you can't really do that to scale. And playability-wise, you're stuck with it being 20 by 20 by 20. So, if you're casting at any other size, it's not an accurate representation. And if you're using a battle mat, then you're probably just going to draw the effect on the mat, so this might not be the best kind of thing for you. And again, if you're using things like Dwarven Forge or any of the 3D printable tile sets, or the upcoming products from WizKids Warlock tiles, then obviously it might not fit in with the boundaries of the rooms and the walls that you've created. It's okay, but it's okay. It's got some drawbacks, but it looks good, but playability wise, the size is a bit of an issue. Now, moving on to a Force Cage in the cube mode, I think this is probably the most boring miniature in the set, in that it's a 10 by 10 by 10 cube at scale made out of clear plastic. So, you know, it's not going to win any awards for originality there. I mean, you can maybe get some extra use out of it, maybe play it as a gelatinous cube miniature. And again, it's not going to really alter too much of the if you want to cast it at a different size, but you know, it does the job, but it's a bit dull, which coincidentally was the last 3 performance reviews I got at work. Moving on to Leomund's Tiny Hut. Now, Leomund's Tiny Hut's a bit of a poor relation in the spells named after the wizards that created them stakes. You know, what with Tenser and his floating disc, Melf and his acid arrow, and Mordenkainen and his magnificent mansion. They take a lot of the limelight, to be fair. But recently this spell's been used to really good and quite original effects by Caleb Widogast in the Critical Role broadcasts. So I won't spoil it, but it has been used far more creatively than the usual. Yeah, I cast Leomund's Tiny Hut, we all go in and we go and get a long rest kind of thing. And again, it's not too visually appealing. To be fair, it's an orange plastic bubble, you know, and you can't really say more about that, to be fair. Moving on to Rope Trick. Again, it's not a spell that gets a lot of time on the tabletop, but in my opinion it's one of the better looking pieces in this set, and something that I would consider having a go at trying to craft after myself. It's you know, kind of a standout in terms of representing the spell in a cool way, with the rope extending up into the extra dimensional space. But again, it's not really a spell that's gonna get a lot of use on your tabletop, you know, unless you're sort of like doing a chase scene and people are sort of like disappearing up the rope into the extra dimensional space to get away. But hey ho, it is what it is, I guess. Dancing Lights. Now, this spell has already had a release in a previous set, but that was in the vaguely humanoid shape form. What this is it's 4 globes of light floating in the air, and again it will probably get some use on the tabletop, you know, particularly if it's important to know where the sources of light are located for visibility. Gloomstalker Rangers, I'm looking at you here. Bane of my life. It's very basic minis, and you could probably craft this yourself with a pin, a base, and some green stuff putty. But you know, these make quite good use of the translucent plastic, and you could probably use them to double for something like a Will-o'-the-Wisp. Arcane Eye. Again, it's another mini that's been upscaled for tabletop use in that the Arcane Eye itself in the rulebook is said to be able to fit through a space of about 1 inch. Now, that could be a problem scale wise, so this is very much overscale. It's a nice enough miniature. I think they could have maybe done a little bit more on the paint job than just sort of like going, okay, so let's make a clear plastic ball and we'll just hello cat, and we'll just dot an eye in the middle of it. But you know, does what it says on the tin, to be honest. Okay, now we come to Mordenkainen's sword. Well, it's a good enough mini. It looks like it's a direct copy of the sculpt of the swords that they had surrounding Hallister in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage series. Yeah, it's going to have extended use, don't have to just use it as this. Will probably work for sort of like a spiritual weapon, or any kind of sort of like conjured sword that's like just floating around doing stuff. So cool use of the translucent plastic, gets the thumbs up from me. Leomund's Secret Chest. Quite a tiny mini, but pretty cool because it's got a working articulated lid, although I feel that sort of like big clumsy oaf like me could probably break it, but it seems sturdy enough at the moment. But you know, it's a nice It's a really nice piece of scenery and dungeon dressing, and so you'll get far more use than just using it to represent Leomund's secret chest. As you know, particularly just before it turns into a mimic and slaughters your entire party. Okay, the Create Bonfire spell. Again, it's something that's going to get more playability than just a spell. Now, it's always good for a campsite or a group of NPCs sitting around the fire. Again, something that the crafty amongst us could make with a few twigs and a hot glue gun, but it's a nice piece of scenery and it will certainly make it onto my tabletop. Okay, the Flaming Sphere. It's not going to win any awards, this one. I feel it could have had a little bit more sort of like some flame shaped stuff coming off the top and sort of like dancing about, but you know, this just reminds me kind of a Ferrero Rocher. Why, Mr. Wizard, with this flaming sphere you are really spoiling us. Ow, ow, I mean burning us, get it off me! Moving on to Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. Again, this is a spell that has been made popular by the current series of Critical Role, in that it's been used a lot by the wizard Caleb, albeit it's been slightly reskinned and called Cat's Eye. But it's a very nice mini, quite like it, really good sculpt, good sort of like rocky hand coming up, and I like the way that the position that it's in means that it can actually grasp a small miniature by the base. So certainly something that I'm hoping that I'm going to get some use out of. Moving on to Guardian of Faith. This is a pretty good sculpt. It's taken influence from the artwork in the rulebook. And the yellow plastic could possibly do with maybe some more paint effects just to enhance the texture of the mini, but it would fit in well for any sort of like spectral or conjured warlike being, and I quite like it. It's pretty good. Bones of the Earth. So it's 6 rock pillars, and I think that these could quite easily double up as terrain pieces in a cavern set. So it's got good playability value, and crafters should be able to make something similar very quickly. I would think, you know, give me a 1-inch square bar of XPS foam and a sharp knife, and I can probably give you 6 pillars as with a stone effect and 1 heavily bandaged hand in about an hour. The Healing Spirit, you've got 2 sculpts in this one. 1 Fae and 1 Beast, so resembling a small fairy and a unicorn. So you know, pretty nice, quite detailed sculpts even at the size. And I can very well see them getting some use as other creatures. I mean, particularly seeing, and I think it's going to get used, particularly since this is one of the most broken spells in 5th edition. I mean, for a second level spell that will give you up to 10d6 healing for as many people as you can get in a circular conga line for a minute, it's you know, you can't argue with that, can you? Okay, moving on to the last one of the miniatures, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound. So this one appears to be a reuse of the sculpt that they had for the Mastiff in a blue translucent plastic. And it's quite nice. They have actually put a couple of sort of like paint effects on this, and again this can double up as perhaps a Shadow Mastiff or maybe even a Blink Dog, so there's some reusability in that one. So to round up, it's a very expensive set for what it is, and if you're of the crafty persuasion, you could probably make some of these for yourself. I mean, I definitely feel that I could make a few basic bits of this if I had like some green stuff and some hot glue. I could probably knock up a decent Bonfire, Dancing Lights, Arcane Eye, Bones of the Earth, Flaming Sphere, and whatever. And you know, if I had access to something like, you know, a polystyrene ball and maybe some cross-stitch grating, I could probably do the Leomund's Tiny Hut and the Force Cage. But if you're short on cash, then I wouldn't spend your money on this. You'll probably get far more use out of either the upcoming Warlock tile system, or maybe even the previously released spell effects, which had quite a few of the more popular spells in it, like the Spiritual Weapon and Mage Hand, stuff like that. But if you do find yourself with a bit of spare cash, then there's nothing intrinsically wrong with this set. And if you feel like you'll get use from it, then I'd say go for it. Anyway, I've been Cut Price Gandalf, and as many of my teachers said to me, you shall not pass! Well, at least don't pass without clicking on like and maybe subscribe and hitting the bell icon, so that you can see when I upload new videos. And these are generally about nerdy or geeky things like live role playing, or tabletop role playing, or in some cases travel to geeky destinations like Disney. So thanks very much for watching, take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all soon. The blah 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 blah. Right, let's get rid of this stupid beard. Much better. Is this on?